Salutations all. Welcome back to another kitchen adventure. What are we doing today? Well, we're going to sit back, relax, kick up our feet, party on down, and roast some beets. Let's do a little roasted beets. Yeah? Let's get into this kitchen adventure. Alright, so what we're going to do today, like I said, we're going to be roasting some beets, and basically we're going to make like, I guess we'll call it a salad, for lack of a better terminology. As you saw, I've got some baby goldens here, right? And I've got some plain Jane regular beets. Now, depending on where you are and what your local farmer's market or grocery store might have, there are a large variety, multitude of colors. You've got your goldens, you've got your orange, you've got the candy stripes, which are really, really sexy. Plain beets, I mean, there's a lot to do. The reason I say that is just because you can make a really, really colorful salad or side dish or whatever it is that you're choosing to do with that. So before we get into that, let's talk about what else you're going to want or need for this dish. I've got some pistachios here. Now, these are just some salt and pepper pistachios. They also make this in a sweet chili, which goes really, really well with what we're going to be doing. I've got the always delicious goat cheese on hand. All right, some goat cheese crumbles. And then today I've got something new for you guys. So this is a balsamic glaze, right? White balsamic glaze there. And I also have, I think we talked about it in another video, I have the regular balsamic glaze, right? Made with the straight up balsamic that we're used to seeing. White balsamic, if you've never had it, is a little sweeter, a little more floral, I guess is the word you want to use there. It's really actually really nice. Just really try it out. It works well with pretty much everything that a regular balsamic would. It just has a lighter flavor to it. All right. Now, you don't have to make the glaze. I don't think we've covered how we do the reductions, but if you want to make the reduction yourself, by all means, you just get a bunch of balsamic vinegar, put it into a pot, and boil it down. Use a little bit of sugar. That's what makes the glaze aspect, the syrupy aspects of it. And you just keep reducing it till it gets to the thickness that you want it, and you let it cool. Now, I will tell you, be very careful once it gets to that thick, syrupy stage. Do not get it on you, all right? That is hot glue in a pot, all right? Don't make the mistake that I made as a rookie cook and rapidly pour it into a plastic bottle because you ran out on the line. The next thing you know, you will have melted plastic and hot lava all over the place. I apologize, chef, for doing that many years ago. All right, y'all. So we're going to get back to the beets. I know as kids, if you didn't have this on your dinner table very often, you're probably making faces at me right now as we talk about beets. But the reality is nature's little candy here is really good, man. And you don't really have to do a whole lot to it. So let's get into this. I've got my oven set at 375 right now. However your oven works. I know we're all a little different out there. And you can tell by the size, right? They're going to be different cooking times. I can't really give you a solid cooking time for the beets because it's going to depend on, one, how big the ones that you have are, and how your oven functions. So I like to do the touch method. By that, when you get the beet, it's really hard, it's firm, right? As it cooks, it's going to get softer. You can poke it with a fork. I wouldn't do it too many times, though. But it'll get really tender. It'll start getting tender. Now, there's two ways to approach this. You can cook them to a point where they're nice and tender, but not too far gone, right? So a little tender but firm on the inside. I know it's a lot. You pull them out of the oven and let them naturally cool down. Because remember, we've talked about foods retaining heat. Same thing like with a steak, right? We pull that steak off the pan or out of the oven or off the grill. You don't want to cut right into it. You want to give it a second, let it cool, let the juices do what they do inside. Same thing for the beets. The retained heat will keep cooking as you let it sit out, and it'll come to perfection, right? If you don't have time for that, or maybe you forgot they were in the oven and you've cooked them past that point, and they're a little more tender, you're going to want an ice bath. Very, very simple thing, right? Get a bowl, you put ice in it, you put water in it. When the beets come out of the oven, you throw them right in there, right into the ice water. That shocks them. That stops that heating process, starts pulling all that out, okay? So, how are we going to cook these, Lucky? All right, very, very simple. We're going to cut the crowns off. We're going to cut the little tail root off. Bang, bang. Actually, you don't even have to cut the tail end off, right? we're not going to peel the beets. Okay, do not peel the beets. We're gonna oil them, hit them with a little salt and pepper, maybe a touch of sugar, just a hair. The reason that we don't peel them is that when you put them into the oven, they begin to oxidize, and they're gonna get ugly and black and very unsexy, and no one will want to eat them, nor will they ever trust you with their beets again. All right, so do not peel the beets. Once they're cooked, the skin comes off crazily easy. You can actually use a peeler and it'll pretty much just fall right off of there, okay? So let's get these bad boys oiled up. So I'm gonna get them with a little bit of olive oil, right? Because the oil helps the heat do what it does, right? I'm gonna hit these with a little bit of salt and pepper and just maybe a little touch of sugar, just a touch of sugar. So I've got my pan over here with my wax paper. You can use aluminum or whatever on your pan, and we're gonna get them into the oven. And like I said, I can't really tell you time because depending on what size beet that you have, it's going to take a little longer. So for these little guys, I would say probably about, I don't know, 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at 375. For my bigger ones here, I would probably go 15 minutes or so. And that's just a guesstimate. I always do the feels. All right, it's easier to set a 10-minute timer and keep going back and feeling than it is to try to guess and then overcook your beets. So once we got them cooked and chilled, we're going to put this salad together. Crazy easy, y'all. All right, so our beets are out of the oven. It took about 15 minutes for our goldens to get where I wanted them on the tender scale. And then I pulled them out and just let those sit and come down naturally. So remember, they were still cooking. And then about 25 minutes on our bigger reds here. And I've got the other ones in the refrigerator bringing them down, but they're getting right to where we want as well. Also, don't forget, something you might want to have on hand is a pair of gloves. Remember that beets were used to dye clothing back when the iPhone was like this big. This big over here, like really big, right? As big as this board. Or for some of you older ones, when we had payphones. No, seriously, you will absolutely stain your hands with the beets, especially these red ones here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to peel our golden ones first. Just use a little peeler or paring knife, whatever you've got on hand. We'll peel these bad boys first. And the reason I'm doing these first is because I don't want to necessarily get the red juice all over these beautiful golden beets. So you can see, look at that color. Alright, so I also went ahead and de-shelled some of the pistachios. Got that knocked out of the way. And we're going to just chop those down just a hair. Just a hair. Alright, now of course, obviously, for allergy purposes, you can omit the pistachios. It does add a nice little touch of salt and of course a texture. Another alternative as well with the balsamic glaze. So if you don't want to make a glaze, you can't find a glaze, or you just don't like the glaze, no worries. Alternatively, I like to also take a little bit of honey and some rice wine vinegar, and I just make a little dressing out of that. I enjoy the rice wine vinegar because it's not as acidic as a normal vinegar or most vinegars that you would be accustomed to using in the kitchen in your household. It's not really strong on the flavor. And then obviously the honey, you just want a drop of that just to enhance the sweetness of the overall dish. If you're not a fan of goat cheese, I understand. I get it. I think that it adds a nice little tangy offset to the sweetness of the beets and the saltiness. It adds that fatty texture as well, the fattiness to the dish as well. But that's just me. It's not for everybody, and I understand. So no worries there. All right, I'm going to get the rest of these cleaned up. We're going to slice these beets up. We're going to plate it up. All right, so as you can see from my stained board and my fingers, we've completed the peeling of these deliciousness. All right. You know, too, like I said before, I know when we were kids and we were forced to eat beets or any other thing like that, it just burns this terrible image into our brains, but it's really not that bad. Give it a second try in adulthood. Start your young ones out early on it. You know what I mean? Like, really get. I mean, beets are good. They're good for you. It's a good source of iron, fiber, vitamin C, which we know is important because, you know, we don't want scurvy. So that's a thing. But, you know, just get back out there and try it. You know what I mean? All right, the slice. All right, we're just going to cut this up. We're going to cut it not too thin. I can't really explain to you how thick. I guess let me show you. We don't want it necessarily paper thin, right? You want to be able to get it with a fork without tearing it up too much. All right, that little last piece there. Get our blade of wipe. You're like, Lucky, what does it matter if the colors? I know, eventually they're all going to touch, but it's just a thing. It's just a thing. I don't want them to touch till I want them to touch. I'm in charge. I'm the captain now. All right, get a couple of these here. And I promise you can find golden beets larger. I actually had to go to 3 different places this morning to even find them. I was looking for the candy striped ones, which are just awesome looking. But you can find them. You can find them larger. All right, so for this, we're just going to start alternating our beets. Just for the contrast, right? Just for the visuals. We eat with our eyes first and foremost. I'm going to move this into view for y'all here in just a second. Bear with me. I lost my towel. All right. Get a new towel over here. Get my fingerprints off the plate. That is the cost of doing business with Beets, right? And get that stuff all over our hands. Why I am typically wearing gloves in most of my videos. It's less for a sanitary thing. I'm just very weird about things touching me. All right, so we've got our beets layered up. We're gonna get our goat cheese. And then, like I said before too, I know not everybody is a fan of goat cheese. I'm not a big advocate for blue cheeses, but a nice gorgonzola could work for this. Some feta, which is a little higher in salt, so be careful with that. Or no cheese at all, right? No cheese at all. You don't have to. You can hit it with a little avocado if you just want the fat, you know, just to have that texture. Good fat, obviously, good fat. All right, hit it with that. We're gonna take some of these pistachios, and I'm gonna lay my knife down flat, give them a mush. That way they're not flying all over the place. You don't have to worry about the knife slipping and you losing a digit. And give them another mush. There we go. Sprinkle those on like so. And remember, these pistachios that I'm using, they are a salt and pepper seasoned pistachio. I think, again, the brand, and I'll get that brand name for you guys. I think it's just Wonderful Nuts. Pause. They also have a sweet chili, sweet chili. That's super duper good. All right. And then we just drizzle a little bit of our balsamic glaze or our honey or whatever it is that you see fit. We don't really want a lot because we don't want to hide the flavor of the beets. You want that natural earthiness to come through, but you want a bite of that vinegar as well. And then that's it, man. Right? You can hit it with a little parsley if you want another flare of color. But that's it. Give it a try, right? So that was it. Roasted beets with goat cheese and pistachio. Little balsamic drizzle on top. Little white balsamic drizzle. Very easy. Very, very simple. Can be prepared ahead, and then you just build it as you need it. It's a colorful dish that will really draw attention to itself when you put that on a table with a nice little spread or as an appetizer or salad side or however you want to do that. And listen, don't be afraid to try something different. I mean, if we went through life not trying things because we had never done it before, most of you wouldn't be here. Let's just be honest, right? Try it. Try it once at the very least. Try it twice at best. All right? Our taste buds change as we get older. What you didn't like as a kid, you might love now. Give it a try. All right? Thanks for joining us on this adventure, guys. We'll see you next time.